Hi, welcome back to my channel. This video I'm going to show you how to use UCROP library to crop images uh, and save it to the database. So as a reference, I'm going to be using my own project from my YouTube tutorial, which is unfinished, but it is going to be finished soon. Once I close my personal stuff, I'm going to get back um, to YouTube stuff. So there is a library called UCROP, which is really simple but powerful and smooth tool to edit images and crop images especially, just in case if you want to add this functionality into your application or something. So the original implementation would look like com, GitHub, and Yalansis, which is apparently who made the library, but I'm using second source, and I'm gonna uh, put this into the video's descriptions. So just for you to copy and paste. So I've synced the project and let's begin coding some stuff. So as I said, I'm gonna be using my project as a reference, and um, in my project, I have some kind of stuff. So this is for editing profile, and this is fragment profile. Okay, so we already have shapeable image view. Um, so I'm gonna copy the ID reference from XML layout and create probably inside the models class or inside the handlers class. I'm gonna create a new Java class, shapeable image view. Let's say, I don't know, let's say shapeable image view renderer. So press enter. This class is going to help me to upload, to load up the image from the server and display it on whatever image view type you type in. So um, in this case, in this case, we have shapeable image view. So this is not taking the image itself as an object from the server, but rather the URL link for the image that will be going to save in the database. So I'm gonna type extends thread. So our process of rendering the image is going to be handled as the main thread in here. I'm gonna say handler, which is not Java util uh, class, but the Android class itself. I just make the constructor and initialize it as a variable here. So the next what I'm going to do is initialize my shapeable image view. Since we have obviously shapeable image view, we just initialize it. Let's say image holder private bitmap. Since we're decoding it to the bitmap, I'm gonna also initialize the variable bitmap and the URL itself. So I'll say public. I'll make a constructor for my class. Say shapeable image view renderer, and as parameters, I'm gonna say URL by string and shapeable image view as image holder. Okay, this URL equals URL, and this image holder equals image holder. And this is by far one of the most important methods in here because I wouldn't use handler. I would just use, there's a method called async tasks, but it's been depreciated. So that's why I'm going to use handler to make the thread to execute it. So I'm going to implement the method called run. I think we won't be needing super in here. So inside a run overrided method, I'm gonna take a reference of handler, the method called post. What this does, it actually executes a pre-render method that we type in. Whatever you type in executes at the first one. So as the second one, I'm gonna say input stream is, and I'm gonna initialize it as null. Try and catch method. As a catch, I'm gonna use Java's IO exception and just print stack trace or system out print line, whatever. So this line of code is pretty important in here since we are taking the reference of our URL and we're initializing the connection by opening stream in there. That's why it is important. And the last step is to use our bitmap as some sort of placeholder. We're going to decode the stream into our bitmap. After the catch, we initialize the last post variable, say image holder dot set image bitmap. This is a method already provided by Studio. Say bitmap. So that's it. One class, one helper, one handler. That's fucking it. So we'll be using this class to display any images using URL into the shapeable image view. So I'm going to go back to profile fragment here. I copy the reference of ID inside the XML layout. I'm going to go back to profile fragment and, oh, we already initialized it. Okay. So again, I need a bitmap. Let's say bitmap equals null. Private string, no, I need a URI. URI is a special type of URL. So you may Google it. I'm not going to explain what it is. We don't have time for that. So we'll be needing URI of our last image. We need a bitmap and we will be needing a string just to attach the final result onto something. So private, everything is private just to close the access from the other classes. So since it is being a fragment, we always have to use get activity, or we may create just another activity and take it as a reference inside our fragment and use it. But that's a pretty long way for a simple solution. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna write a method called uh, get string image. What it does, it actually takes a bitmap and converts it into into a string. So imagine you have an image. An image comes with a bitmap, and you got to convert it into a string in order to pass it easily through a JSON onto our PHP server. So that is why we have some sort of converters. So I'm going to say um, byte array output stream. I'm going to call it as BIOS and just a simple constructor here. I'm going to take bitmap and write a method called compress. Um, I'm going to compress it to JPEG format. You may use PNG or whatever format you like. I'm going to use just JPEG just to make um, the weight of our image a bit lower. And image bytes, just byte byte array. So say 2 byte array and return base 64 encode uh, encode to string. But this is a different base 64. Where it is, it's a Java util 64, but we need actually Android util class. We have encode to string method. We don't need to use get encode or something like that. Image bytes, base 64, default. That's it. This method converts our bitmap into a string. So what else do we need is another method called QueryName. This uses cursors to sort of make the pass onto the image. So content resolver, resolver, and we need URI again. So I'm going to use cursor, resolver, URI, and the other arguments is null. Um, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to use assert cursor not null. I'm going to use index cursor get column index openable columns display the name. I'm going to move the cursor to the first and just name it. So don't forget to close the cursor and return the name for that. So this is kind of two helper methods that we created. Let me just say helper methods. So as I said before, we could have done with async task just to use UCROP easily. Since it is depreciated, we're going to use some other methods. And also there are some depreciate methods related to intent, and that is why we got to use some other solutions right here. Gonna first of all create a void method clicked image view. Okay, and I'm going to declare it inside the main onView created method. Clicked image view. Okay. So what I want to do is avatar image view dot um, set on click listener. Okay, and I'm gonna say that it should display some. Let's begin with file chooser. So let's say file chooser. So once we clicked our image view, it should show us a file chooser. So in this case, I create a method private void file chooser. So we're going to be using intent in here. Intent, we say set type. We're going to be using a standard image choosing, let's say, option in here, which is image and all the kind of stuff. So intent set action. This is actually pretty important to write this, because otherwise you will not, your window will not open, or the window will be different. So we say action get content, and we're gonna be using activity result launchers in this case. I will say result file chooser, right? So launch intent. Okay. Between these two methods, I'm gonna insert activity result launcher. I'm gonna say intent, since we're having an intent here. Um, since the result is actually an intent. So I'm gonna copy this and paste it here. Say register for activity results. Okay. And we have here two new methods. The first of which being uh, activity result contracts, start activity for results, and the second one of which is being a callback called activity result. I'm going to be using a lambda here, whatever. So the result here is being an activity result type, which we already declared. So I'm going to be using some new intent here, data result get data. We're getting actually the actual result, which is being executed in here. So imagine that you first open the file chooser, and when the user chooses anything, we should implement it here, whatever the user chose. So if data is not null, we should do something. So I'm gonna say in this case URI image result get data. What does it say? Required type URI provided intent. Okay, this should be URI. Um, but it doesn't actually say. Maybe we just messed up with uh, some kind of. Okay, so this should be private URI image, but it doesn't actually say anything, which is really weird. But this, oh my god, this should be data, since we're using intents get data just to get the URI pass for our image. I just messed up. So, okay. So, and now, after user chose any kind of image, we should launch the image cropper, right? So that is why I'm gonna say, or what I'm gonna say, how to call this method actually. Let's say just, launch image cropper. Okay, and we're passing our URI image as the reference. This is simple, like 5-6 line of codes in here. So the next stop is another private void method called launch image cropper. URI, okay. So this is where UCROP library comes in. When we customize it right in this process. So I'm gonna say final URI destination URI. I will say from file, which has new file method get cached here. We have to use get activity in this case, get cached here, since this is being a fragment actually. QueryName, okay. Get content, get activity, get content resolver, URI, okay. So the next thing is being options. This handles all the options, all the customizations of the library. So for example, let's say option set circumdil layer. This will actually set your, let's say that you have some kind of frames while cropping the image, and by default the frame is actually rectangle, and this does it in circle. So say true, since we have shapeable image view and our image is actually rounded, so that's why we set this. To optimize the image, we say set compress quality. This takes values from 0 to 100, if I'm not mistaken, and higher it gets, higher the compress quality comes. So the 100 is actually maximum. I also set the uh, maximum result size. Does it have set result? Okay, let's say results result size with maximum result size, 1000 by width and 1000 by height pixels. Option set bitmap size. I'll just place 100. I think either this method or this method has a maximum of 100, or maybe they have both. I don't quite remember that. Gotta Google the options for UCROP library. So you may customize it however you'd like to customize it, since it has a huge amount of customization. You may even set the text on the toolbar of this library however you'd like to set it. You may change the color of the text, you may change the color of toolbar, set whatever you want. So I'm going to stick with the default values and head back to the actual cropping. So I'm equalizing the method here to be my intent. So URI image destination. Okay. First of all, we have get intent, get activity, get application context. We have all the bunch of other stuffs. If you may put some extra values onto the cropping, you may do that. I'm gonna stick to first of all with with options here, with options and the reference or OPT variable that we created previously. So, and the next step is to launch the result intent, the result method. It is exactly the same as this that we wrote previously, activity result launcher, but it is going to be a bit longer since we have to also pass it to whatever method we pass it just to save it into our database. So that is why I'm going to say result cropper, whatever, just So right up on the top of this, I'm going to create activity result launcher, just intent result cropper equals new activity result. Actually, this is not what I wanted. Okay. No, that shouldn't be new. That should be register for activity result. Okay, the standard two callbacks that we're gonna use. Okay. Say intent, result intent equals results get data or data, whatever. Results intent. Um, if it is not null, we're gonna do whatever we do inside the if. So I'm gonna create a final URI equal to, this is pretty important to write it now, get outputs and intent, result intent. This line gets the result of the crop and equals it to the URI, which is an image link, special image link. Try catch whatever exception. You may put just an exception here. So in the try clause, we have to convert it. To convert it, use two methods since one is being depreciated for lower versions of Android build. So that is why I'm going to input SDK integer, which is being literally lower than 28. If it is so, I'm going to say bitmap equals media store images media get bitmap. It gets as arguments just get activity, get content resolver, and URI. Okay, and else for the other versions, I'm gonna use image decoder. Um, the source image decoder, we're gonna use it to create the source. Again, get activity, get content resolver. What we called it? We called it as URI. Okay. Yep. And we should initialize the bitmap. We say image decoder, decode bitmap src. Okay. And after the else, before our catch, we gotta set the image bitmap. To do so, I'm gonna say, how did we call it actually? Avatar image view dot set image bitmap and bitmap. Since it has some sort of value, it is going to be displayed on our image bitmap. So I'm going to copy this and place it here. Oh, I forgot about the launch. Okay, now it is correct. So this is it. This is how you launch the cropper and how you basically crop the image and display it in shapeable image view right here. We wrote, by the way, the handler class and get string image method. We wrote this in order to upload our bitmap, convert it to string, and upload it to the server. So I'm going to quickly show you. I'm not going to test it, by the way, um, because it is up to you to test it, but it is working anyways. So I'm going to say upload image in here, upload avatar, let's say avatar, okay. So this is a post request. Um, it takes ID as our integer, and it takes avatar as our string avatar, okay. It, as I said, it converts bitmap to a string. That's why we are uh, sending a string of our image. So inside the profile, I'm gonna copy just the method that we wrote of JSON and retrofit. Just gonna do that, okay? And let me create another method right at the bottom of all this. I'm gonna call it private void upload image, okay? I'll place this call equals API upload avatar, uh, and it takes 2 arguments. That is why. So I'm gonna say enqueue new callback. This method is responsible for uploading our image into the server. It takes user get. Do we have, by the way, the user in here? We don't have the user, but we saved it. I know that we saved it into the shared pref. Oh, it's first time. It is. No, it's actually okay. We saved it to the shared preferences, I remember. So that is why I'm gonna create a variable of user object here, and it should be null. Right in here, I'm gonna say shared pref manager, get instance, get activity, get application context, and get user. This get user is method that we wrote inside our shared preference manager before. So, and as arguments, I'm gonna say user get ID, and avatar is going to be our bitmap. Okay. Oh, no, 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 wait. We're not sending bitmap, as I said. I forgot about that. So we're sending string, actually. Image pass equals get string image. This is the helper method that we wrote, and inside we write bitmap. So this will work only after you crop the image and after it is displayed inside our shapeable image view. Otherwise, it will display null because we set it as null. Okay, in here type image path, and you may type whatever you want on response or on failure, just whatever you want. So this is a client-side method, just simple method to open the file chooser, to get the result of file chooser, and send it to other method. Take the result of file chooser and open the UCROP library and crop the image and save it to intent and launch the result of this inside activity result launcher and get the result of our cropped image. So after that, we are just uploading the image, into the database server or whatever you want. As for the server side, I'm gonna show you how to actually get it just in a second. Previously, we had our PHP script called social PHP. So we had two PHP main files, index and queries. Queries are for MySQL queries, and index to handle all the post, get, whatever request methods. So let's begin. We're gonna begin from queries. I'm gonna type function upload avatar STMT. This is all actually by default. This is we may actually copy this. Uh, it doesn't really matter in here. So, but we gotta change the query. I'm gonna say since this upload avatar, I'm gonna say insert into uh, accounts. We have avatar inside our accounts, if I'm not mistaken. I can actually check it, but okay, I'm gonna just briefly type it. You may customize it onto your preferences. So avatar values, whatever it is typed inside the bin parameter, where uh, ID is equal to this. Just simple. And we're gonna bind string and integer. In this case, I'm gonna say avatar and ID. So first comes avatar as this clause and ID for the second one. And we're executing it, but by the way, I'm gonna just remove this and I'm gonna say if stmt execute, is it this method? Yeah, okay. And return true. Otherwise, return false. Copy this exact method and paste it again, just double it, and I'm gonna rename it as updates avatar. Uh, this method is just in case if user uploads the avatar twice or just decides to change it, right? So updates accounts set avatar to this where ID equals this, something like this. I'm gonna say string integer and avatar ID, and other is just leaves the same. So the longest part is inside our index PHP method. Say uploads avatar. This is exactly should be the same as it is inside our API handler here. Just copy it just in case we mistype it or something like this. We're gonna remove this. We're gonna say ID or avatar if they are kinda available. Gonna remove two unnecessary request data. Gonna change the name onto avatar. The other feels the same almost, but the problem is that we need to uh, mess up something with our directions and create some maybe folders or whatever it is. After we initialize the queries class, I'm gonna say a path variable equals, um, let's say user ID slash avatar ID again dot maybe JPEG or PNG format, whatever you type in here. Again, it doesn't really matter. So this is the path for our image. And it is going to take, first of all, the main path, which is being public folder. And then it is going to create folder if it doesn't exist and insert the file inside. But we need other paths, which is a final path. This path is going to hold the link to our image inside our MySQL database. So let me open Paint and explain. There are two types of stuff how we usually upload images. First and second. The first one is direct, and the second is by URL. That's how I call it. There may be some other names to it, maybe there's some terms for that, but this is how I call them. So direct is when you upload directly into the server. So let's say this is our image. It goes right to the server, you know, this simple box, server box, and it saves, the server saves URI or simply Bitmap or a string variable inside MySQL database. It may directly save it, but it consumes time, it consumes space and everything. But you have maybe some powerful servers, you may use this, but the by URL is, as you understood, it takes the image, uh, image goes to the server, right? Let's just say server. It goes to the server and saves inside, but then uh, MySQL takes only the path for this one, the path for our image, right? So we're gonna use the path method, just URL method. Let's say HTTP. You may use actually your IP address. Let's say IP address, okay? I'm not gonna check this actually, but it works. You gotta check it and let me know in the comments. So IP address and the folder of our PHP project. In this case, it is social PHP. I hope I wrote it correct. And we just say pass. Basically, you may say that it is just this, but in this case, it takes the variable itself. So we have response data as array ready. We gotta okay. Let's clean up this code a little bit. Okay, this seems correct for a bit. So if let's say empty final path, if our path is empty, it means that uh, we should first of all how we call it, upload avatar, I guess, upload avatar ID and avatar itself. No, not avatar, final pass. This method uploads the link onto the MySQL. And the second one is, this line is pretty important, file put contents. We're taking path for this, and we say base 64 decode, right? So this decodes the image and literally saves it inside our server, and it literally goes as it is. So if the image is cropped, turned 90 degrees, it goes as it is, just cropped in 90 degrees. No changes at all. Okay. So if the path is not empty, if something exists in there, I'm gonna say update the avatar, not upload it. Okay. And that's kind of it. You may actually use response data error just to be false, in here, and all the other stuff is gone. Okay, so this is a simple method to upload avatar into the server and get the link and upload it into the MySQL database. All right, so that's a simple method. You may actually write it in an hour or so. So that's why, yeah, the folder, as I said, creates inside the public folder, and the images are all are inside the public folder. You may set the um, when you use mkdir, you may set actually the rights, who can access uh, the folders, when can access, where can access, whatever. So you may Google that up. And that's it for today. Thanks for watching this video. Have a great day.